Jinx is not dead at the end of Arcane Season 2. The rule in media is that if you don't see a body, then they're not dead. And Arcane has done a pretty good job at showing us dead bodies everywhere, as far back as Act 1, Season 1. So if that alone isn't enough to convince you, then let's actually dig into this a bit more on how Jinx managed to survive, and the very clear hints given to us as viewers that she is alive and kicking. Jinx is shown throughout the series to have some sort of insane speed ability, likely a reference to her passive in-game, and every time we see her use it, we get this purple shimmer effect behind her. In the scene where Jinx supposedly dies while she's falling into the shaft of the Hex Gate, we see her pull out a chomper grenade and pull the pin, resulting in this explosion on screen. But let's rewind this and play this frame by frame, because just before the explosion goes off, we see Jinx's signature purple shimmer shoot away from the explosion and dissipate, almost as if something or someone shot out of that explosion real fast before it went off. But where could she have gone? Well, a few minutes later, we get this scene of Caitlyn looking through some blueprints for the Hex Gate. She is holding on to what looks to be the remains of the same chomper that caused the explosion that Jinx pulled the pin on. And this is a signal to us, the audience, that this scene has something to do with Jinx. And the fact that Caitlyn has this in the first place tells us that they probably searched for Jinx's body, so much so that they found the remains of her very tiny grenade in comparison. And it's safe to assume that they found no body because we've seen no body, which is probably why she, as an investigator, is looking at this in the first place. Caitlyn zooms in on the air duct and cooling system for the Hex Gate before looking down at the remains of the chomper grenade, and then she lets out a very slight smile. Caitlyn clearly believes that Jinx got out. Still not convinced by this. The very last scene in the show, before the credits roll and Arcane finishes forever, is this airship flying off into the distance and across the waves before we get a Jinx-style The End message pop up. This scene is weirdly out of place, unless you assume that Jinx is on that ship. And here's why I think she might be. Season 1, Episode 1 of Arcane. Literally, in the first few minutes of the show, when we are first introduced to the crew, an airship flies over Powder, Vi, and Krager. And the first thing we ever hear Jinx, or Powder at this point, say in the show is that one day I'm going to ride on one of those things.
One day, I'm going to ride in one of those things.
Look at this airship that she's talking about in Season 1, Episode 1. It's the same bloody airship. It also fits quite nicely in with Jinx's entire story arc in Arcane, where in Season 1 we see Powder become Jinx, and in Season 2, with Isha's help, we see Jinx slowly morph into something else, a caring and loving big sister that's playful, and even, by halfway through Season 2, she's a hero to the people of Zorn at that point. We even see an enforcer just straight up tell Jinx that she is not Jinx, which is in Episode 4 of Season 2. It is played off as a joke, but it comes right after a scene where Jinx tells Isha about how she used to be someone else. She says that Jinx is dead, and then she has a complete identity meltdown just before this scene plays out. This is the writers very clearly telling us that Jinx has crossed some sort of threshold and is now on a journey to become a different person. Or rather, she is already a different person, and she's just not quite realised it yet.
I am Jinx!
And Jinx flying off into the distance on the same airship that she saw as a child as Powder right at the start of this story is a rather nice way to end the season. And maybe it's just me looking for something nice in an ending that is otherwise quite melancholic. But what do you guys think? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Is she dead? Am I just grasping at straws because I want her to be alive? We know that Arcane kills people and Bess is dead and she's in the game, so it means nothing that they're alive in the game anymore. So yeah, I mean, she could be. I don't know. Maybe I just hope she's not. But let me know what you think. Tell me why I'm wrong, and I'll see you next time. Also, this show definitely happens before the Ionia War. I'm just saying. I'm just saying.